Good morning from the Mealuck Valley on the west coast of Ireland in the first day of spring. I'm Clive Evans. I'm the chairman and founder of Yachting Financial Solutions and co-founder of the Yacht Partnership. Spring really has sprung here. The sun is shining, which is unusual. We've had a pretty crappy winter. And what I really wanted to tell you is I'm surrounded in the fields around here by all these tiny little newborn lambs bouncing around, white ones, black ones, grey ones, multi-eared ones. And it is impossible to walk past them without giggling as you watch them dashing about, because they are just full of happiness and enjoyment and looking forward to what's in front of them. And I think that's a great place to be in life, don't you? So part of what we're going to try and do today is to make sure that you feel like that all the time and don't trip yourself up if you like. So the theme of today's mentoring video is things that you think will bring success but may not because of faulty implementation. Let me explain what I mean. You know that it's important to set a clear, concrete goal with a deadline, and you've done that. You've created a schedule to make it happen, because a goal and a deadline is what it's all about. Napoleon Hill said that, and making the schedule to do it means that it will happen. You're confident in yourself, and you've committed to nailing it. You're working hard to achieve that. But maybe you've just set yourself up to fail. Really? Yeah, maybe. Let's break it down and see where all this could go wrong. Here's an example. It's an old adage, isn't it? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. It's all to do with making things achievable. That must make them too big. However, it's good to set big goals, and they have to be achievable. So if you aim for the stars, you might hit the moon. But if the stars were the initial goal, then hitting the moon is a failure of sorts. So you kind of set yourself up for aiming too high. So try this idea, which I quite like, and it's worked for me. Work with stretch goals. What do I mean by that? Well, when you approach your goal, and it might be quicker than you think, why not move it up a bit? Set it slightly further away. And when you approach that goal, move it again. And you'll end up a lot further down whatever road it is than you thought you would. That's got its own inbuilt motivation because you're hitting goals all the way. Let me give you a real life example from where I'm at. Most of you know that I'm a car nut. A couple of years ago, for my a significant birthday, I can't remember which one it was, I'm so bloody old, I bought myself another car. I bought myself an old Porsche 914 online in America, eBay. Probably too many glasses of wine, not very much money. In it came to the UK, went to my man that looks after my cars, and I said, fine, what we're going to do is restore this. How long do you think it'll take? He said, 3 or 4 months, something like that. Won't be too expensive. Great, I said. So off we went. The goal was just to finish the car because I quite liked it. But what happened was that Angus said to me, probably 3/4 of the way through it, he said, this is a cool little car. What are you going to do with it? And I said, well, I don't know. I hadn't thought of doing anything with it. And he said, it's a perfect car to go historic rallying. Won't take much to build it into a historic rally car. We'll put in some trip meters and stuff like that and beef it all up a bit. And then you could go classic rallying. So suddenly the goal was to go classic rallying. Great. Another 3 months later, we were classic rallying. Here we are a year later, not only are we classic rallying, but we're being competitive, which is a really interesting point of view. So you can see how the goal evolved from building a 914 to taking a 914 and winning some rallies with it by classic rallying. A real stretch. But if somebody had told me a year or so, 2 years, 3 years ago, that I was going to be doing competitive classic rallying. I'm doing 3 this year, or is it 4? Can't remember. First one is in 2 weeks' time. Wouldn't have happened. The stretch is what made it happen. Here's another one. You can do 2 things at once, but you can't focus effectively on 2 things at once. Your schedule may be just too tight. The other thing is, of course, you probably have to rely on other people to do stuff sometimes. So whilst you may be rigid on things, they may not be able to be rigid on things. So it's not just yacht owners who have unrealistic expectations of you. We do it for ourselves as well. We often underestimate the time needed for things to happen. Life throws us curveballs, it trips us up, and your schedule needs to be able to deal with setbacks and distractions. Everything takes twice as long as you think. So here's my next real life version of this. So the rally car I've just told you about, I'm 72 this year, or is it 73? And I was fortunate in I received a small inheritance recently from my stepfather. And he'd always said, he said, I expect you'll buy another car with some of this. So I did. What a surprise. I bought another project, which is something that it's rather cool, very cool car. And it was in the UK, sitting in storage, been imported from America. Needed quite a lot of work, especially on the engine. And so I got my UK guys to do that. I pushed them hard to do that, pushed them hard to get it done. And they're used to me, they got it done. And then I pushed myself, and one of my buddies went across to the UK with a Range Rover and a trailer to pick the car up because I wanted to get it moving. And we picked it up and we brought it back. It was all kind of fairly under pressure because it was being finished here in Ireland by my friend Dave's mechanic, Tom. And here's where we hit the third curveball. I brought it back approximately a month ago, maybe 5 weeks, and it has been sitting in the garage there doing absolutely nothing. Nothing has happened. You see, Tom, the guy that's going to do this, is mechanically brilliant. He's a bit of a genius, but he's an odd character. He kind of works when he feels like it, maybe 3 days a week, not every week necessarily. And he's also got stuff to finish for Dave that we didn't realize was going to happen. And so guess what? My car hasn't even started. And of course, I'm stressed about that because I bust a gut to get it here. I wanted to have it ready to do some stuff in the summer, and it might not be ready by then. But I've learned from that. And when I raised a concern with my friend Dave, who he works for, Dave said something that I thought was brilliant. He said, Clive, you knew this was going to be an 8 to 10 week project, but you're using Tom. And it will be an 8 to 10 week project, but you don't know which 8 to 10 weeks it's going to be. And they may not at all be consecutive. Guess what? It's going to take twice as long as I thought. Hey, I want you guys to be confident in what you do. But please don't be overconfident. Confidence in our abilities is good, but we often overestimate our efficiency, energy levels, and especially tackling something new. But breaking things down into little things, achieving a big goal is a marathon, not a sprint. So you've got to keep doing things. I'll give you a good example of this. My nephew, Ben is 30 years old, a great guy. And he's an estate agent and has been for some time now, certainly 5 years to my knowledge, very successful, working for a housing development company in the southeast of England, effectively selling not houses, but housing developments, a 15, 20 million housing development to somebody. Very good at what he did. Sadly, though, out of his control completely, the company he worked for went belly up, bankrupt. Not good news. Suddenly Ben's out of a job. But he's a bright boy, and he picks himself up, goes and does some interview, and lands a great new job selling high-end property to foreign buyers from an office in Mayfair in London. So still high end, but a different, big ticket, but a different thing. Now, Ben could have been very confident that this was going to be easy, but he knew he'd be dealing direct with the end user, which is something he hadn't done before. Not only that, he was doing a lot of it over the phone. Ben has great personality, but he hadn't done a lot of phone work before. So surprise, surprise, he phones Uncle Clive, because Uncle Clive's supposed to know a thing or two about selling stuff. And I said, look, I understand where you're coming from. What's the problem? He said, well, I've got about 10 leads a day I can work from. They're leads. I don't know how good they are. How do I sort out the good ones from the bad ones? And I said, Ben, it's very simple. Don't. You're not going to be able to. Just set yourself a target of phoning 5 of these people a day. If you can do more, fine, but 5's a good number. 5 people a day, and phone them and say to them, hello, I'm Ben Dickinson. I'm from Elite Estates. You sent us an inquiry. I'd like to know when I can talk to you about it. Notice no selling there. Guess what? 3 weeks later, he'd been phoning 5 people a day. He phoned me up and said, Clive, that's brilliant. I've been working on 5 people a day. And because of that, I've just made my first sale. He sold a £2.5 million apartment in London to a client from the Middle East over the telephone who had only viewed it on video. I think that's fantastic, don't you? So the point I'm trying to make is just concentrate on the small stuff and allow time for it to work. Okay, overthinking. This is Clive Evans's worst thing. I'm really good at overthinking shit. This is what happens. Don't get too deep. It leads to overthinking, and overthinking leads to problems that don't even exist in the first place. As long as you're moving forward, don't worry, because if you overthink everything, you delve deeper and deeper into detail, and it stops you dead in your tracks. And it tends to be negative rather than positive. You always imagine what can go wrong. Your brain doesn't have an automatic switch to stop you doing that, so it gets deeper and deeper and deeper. You got to get yourself out of this and somehow or other talk yourself into doing stuff. Preferably, if you're worried, make a decision to take a small step, and then it can't be disastrous. Let me give you an example again. Cars again. My 924 hill climb car, which we're supposed to be doing some hill climbing with, has been a bit unreliable in the past, but we spent the winter working on it, and it's okay, I think. Except I just don't have the confidence in it to take it 45 minutes up the road to the Healy Pass, which is a classic hill climb, to test it. I'm worried it's going to stop and break down. And both my mechanic and Teresa said, so if it does, it shouldn't matter too much. It's only 34 minutes away. You can take the trailer and go and pick it up. And it's not going to blow up. But I'm still finding it difficult to do that. I will do it soon. As long as I stop overthinking it, I've just got to get up in the morning, go and jump in the car and go. It's the only way to do it. And what's the worst that can happen? Nothing's going to happen anyway. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Or else I'll have to go and pick it up with the trailer. Oh, and then I'll have to get the trailer out of the garage, which is always difficult. Oh, God, then I'll have to actually ease it out slowly, and that might take an hour or so. And oh, and what happens if it's raining? You'll have noticed a trait in some of this. Why this whole session is very close to me, because certainly if you look at the overthinking thing, it's a derivative of this, perfectionism. Perfect is the enemy of good, French poet Voltaire, who clearly has hair nearly as long as mine, which is great. Perfectionism is great. You see, getting everything right is really good, but the trouble is, it really sets yourself up, doesn't it? Yeah, it's natural you want everything to be perfect, especially for you guys. You work in an environment that expects perfection. Perfection is the norm. But perfect can be the enemy of good, especially where good is good enough. If good gets you to where you need to be, don't stop your progress by insisting on perfection. Let me give you a good example. This new project, you knew I was going to talk about cars again. This new project of mine, it's a cool car. It's a very cool car. For those of you that are into Porsches, it's a Flachbau, which means flat nose. Flat noses are great cars. They only built like 300 of them. Factory built them, special order, loads and loads of money. And they were a derivative of the 930 Turbo, which is a really, really, really fast car. Mine is not a 930 Turbo. It is a Flachbau built on a 2.7 1975 body, which means it is not a particularly fast car. The fact that it looks so fast that it's standing still is probably why I like it. In fact, I ran into a person at Goodwood, friend of Goodwood last week, who said, not many people could get away with that, Clive, but you're one of the few. Why am I telling you this? Because, of course, a lot of people, when they see this thing I'm working on, go, so you're going to put a turbo motor in it, aren't you? Well, a perfectionist, which I am, probably would. But actually, no, I'm not going to put a turbo motor in it because I don't need another fast car. I have a very fast Porsche 911. And one of the reasons I wanted to build something a little less aggressive was Teresa hates sitting in it and going anywhere in it because it's fast and noisy and bouncy, stiff suspension. The dogs won't go anywhere near it. So I wanted something less perfect. So this is what I'm building. I'm building something that looks great, feels great for anybody, but it's not fast. It's comfy. It's got space in the back for the dogs. They're going to come out in it. So it's not letting me off the hook. It's about not getting bogged down on detail that isn't important. I don't need an earth-shattering turbo motor in this car. I'm just going to leave a stock motor in it, and I'm just going to continue to build it as a very comfortable long-distance cruiser that I'm going to take some time or other down to the office in the south of France, well, down to the south of France and maybe to Spain with the family. We won't be able to have any luggage because it's not that perfect, but we'll have a good time. I hope that's been useful. Been a little bit of sort of self-exploration there for me too. And the perfectionism thing is, wanting things to be really good is good. But it can be, and if you think back on all of these chunks of where your plan could go wrong, it's probably expecting a little bit too much of it, of you, of life, of everything, isn't it? It's all to do with, it's got to be dead on. Getting close is going to be good enough for most people. Remember, our objective is to help you create your dream life. And that's a fairly elastic thing, I would think. It isn't entirely, you don't actually have to have a house with a yellow front door, do you? Red might be all right. You see what I'm getting at? The detail can overcome everything. Concentrate on the big picture. Concentrate on how it will feel. Concentrate on, if you like, remember what I was talking about just now of, I've got this picture of me, Teresa, and the dogs cruising down the autoroute to Antibes in our metallic grey Flachbau. The rest is just kind of detail. That's a good, nice big goal. And we're going to do that, hopefully in August, which you'll notice is quite a long way away from now. So I've clearly incorporated a stretch goal into what's going on. And I've clearly already worked out that the mechanic is going to take longer. And I've clearly already worked out that it's not going to be 100% perfect, because it's not going to be, is it? I mean, the car is what, 47 years old? It's older than some of you lot. My God. So, hope you found that useful. Hope you have a lovely day. Hope you have a lovely week. Hope you have a lovely month. I hope 2023 is turning into a really good year. 2024 is going to be even better. And reach out to us. Let us know how we can help you make your life work better for you. That's what these videos are all about. Pass them on to other people. Look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.